Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got some huge news to share with you here today. We have these reports that last night Ukrainian drones struck yet another major weapons arsenal up in Russia. This is the 67th GRAU arsenal in Karashev in the Bryansk region of Russia, just about 120 kilometers beyond the Ukrainian border just north of Ukraine. So this is very, very big news. I've got numerous other things to discuss as well that we're going to go over. I've got video footage of this arsenal exploding as well. Lots of secondary explosions. So before we get into the rest of the news, I just want to apologize in advance. My voice is not perfect today. I have caught a cold as of yesterday. My family's been very sick over the last week, and it looks like it finally caught up to me. I also have some brain fog right now, so I apologize if I'm finding or having trouble finding my words. But we're going to try our best to get through the news, as I know the news is very important to a lot of you. So let's go ahead and get into this. We also have reports on the Eastern Front in the city of Toretsk, inside of Ukraine, as it looks like Russia is beginning to push into that city. We heard just the other day they were on the outskirts of that city. Now we're hearing that they are starting to reach the central portion of Toretsk. And there's been major fighting there over the last month or two that's been reported. We showed some video footage probably about 2 weeks ago to you guys of heavy fighting taking place in that town. So it's a major city on the eastern side of Ukraine that Ukraine's been trying to hold on to, and it looks like potentially they could be losing it soon as the Russians appear to be advancing about halfway into that city. So I have an update coming out from there. And then also, we have reports of a massive fire that's broken out inside of the city of Noginsk, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a central market, approximately a 3,000 square meter blaze. A major central market has caught on fire and has essentially been destroyed. I'll show you guys some video footage coming out from there. So definitely lots of fires inside of Russia, especially in the Moscow region recently. So let me go ahead and just start jumping into some of this news and share this information with you. We've got this report here from War Translated Dmitry on X. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed the strike on the 67th Arsenal of the Main Missile and Artillery Directorate GRAU in the Bryansk region. According to their information, the warehouse contained ammunition for missile and artillery systems, including those received from North Korea, as well as guided aerial bombs. A significant portion of these were stored in open areas. So what's being reported here at the 67th GRAU Arsenal is that we had North Korean missiles that were being stored here. We also had numerous guided aerial bombs and probably even other types of missiles, maybe even Iskander missiles being stored here. It's definitely a major facility up in the Bryansk region. I'm going to show you guys that here on a map right now. So definitely a major hit by the Ukrainians. And let's go ahead and hop on over here to this Google map here, and I can show you where it's located. So here's Ukraine. And then this right here, this little circle is the Bryansk region just north of Ukraine. So we'll zoom into the northeastern portion over here near the city of Karashev. Here's Karashev here, a pretty good sized city, or town, I guess you could call it. And then we have the 67th GRAU Arsenal right here, okay? So we'll kind of zoom in. We can see all these buildings here, these bunkers where they're storing some of these weapons. And apparently what's being reported is that a lot of these have been stored out in the open, all their missiles and bombs, probably just stored here in these buildings. We actually don't even really see too many bunkers here. The last arsenal, I think it was the 107th that we reported on in the Tver region, definitely had a lot of bunkers. This one appears to have much more, basically just buildings. Okay, there might be some bunkers here, but definitely this thing went up in flames and was a pretty massive explosion. If you notice again, very close to a town here, and it's pretty crazy that Russia just literally stores all these weapons right next to a bunch of civilians, and we've seen this at multiple locations, that a lot of times these are stored right by pretty good sized towns or cities. So as we can see here, a pretty good size weapons arsenal that has been destroyed. And I'm going to show you guys the video footage right now. Here's another quick look at this facility before we take a look at the footage. But definitely massive explosions here. And from what I understand, these explosions were going off for upwards of 8 or 9 hours, maybe even more. Okay, so again, this is where it's located at in northeastern Bryansk region near the city of Karashev. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop on to another update from Igor Sushko now. We've got this video footage. It says Russia munitions depot at a military base in Bryansk region continues to detonate following Ukrainian drone strikes. So we've got a 38-second clip that's going to show massive amounts of secondary explosions. It literally sounds like a popcorn machine going off right now. So take a look at this. Pretty crazy. All right, pretty insane, right? I mean, listen to the amount of secondary explosions at that facility. They were definitely storing lots of missiles and bombs, as we can hear a lot of them detonating there in the background as this thing is exploding. So definitely a major hit by the Ukrainians once again, and that's got to be massive amounts of losses for the Russians, considering how many explosions we're hearing there in the background. Okay, that's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of munitions that have been destroyed just at this one facility. So also from Tendar, it was bound to happen, and now it did. The 67th GRAU arsenal in Karashev, Bryansk region in Russia has been struck. Countless of secondary explosions can be heard. This major Russian ammunition site is only around 120 kilometers or 70 miles from the Ukrainian border. So we've got two more videos to take a look at here. I think this one's somewhere around like 10 seconds. This one's closer to a minute, but you're going to be able to hear more secondary explosions in the distance from some of the residents that were living nearby this 67th GRAU arsenal. Then we've got a couple maps here to show you where it's located, obviously, and then also how far away it is from the border. So let's start with this first video here. Take a look. Okay, so this video definitely shows us a lot of these secondary explosions once again. And again, as I said earlier, from what I understand, upwards of 8 to 9 hours, if not further than that, we had multiple secondary explosions continuing to go off. So definitely lots of munition being stored here at this facility. So one more video coming up. Let's take a look.
Чтобы они эти снаряды нахуй на Украину нахуй уебали бы нахуй, запустили нахуй. Ну да.
We'll go ahead and pause it there, guys. Pretty much the same thing throughout this video, but as we can see, numerous explosions at this facility. This looks like somebody that was much further away. It's a little bit harder to tell hearing those secondary explosions, but we can see some of those brighter lights coming up, as those are probably heavier munitions that are blowing up at the time while this place is detonating. So just imagine being right next to this place while this thing is exploding. Pretty scary to see that. So we've got a couple pictures here as well. This is from Google Earth. Just like I showed you guys earlier, where this thing is located at, right next to the city of Karashev. And then this map right here shows approximately how far away the facility is from the northernmost point of the border of Ukraine. So as you can see here, approximately 118 kilometers from the border, somewhere around 70 miles, what was being reported. So I'm surprised this facility wasn't one of the first ones that were struck, considering it's so close to the Ukrainian border. But it looks like Ukraine has finally struck this thing and destroyed it. So very big news in regards to that today. So now we're going to move on to a few other topics here. I want to give you this update on the city of Toretsk, okay? We had this report coming out yesterday from the New York Times, and it says here, after key town falls in Ukraine's east, Russian forces push into another. Russian troops have now entered Toretsk, a strategic hilltop city, and are pressing with assaults elsewhere in the Donetsk region. Okay, so let's go ahead and look down here. And it says here, a week after Russia captured Volodar, we reported on that last week, a town that anchored Ukraine's defenses in the country's southeast. Moscow's forces are continuing to advance in the area, pushing into or flanking several towns as they try to break through Ukrainian lines. Russian troops have now entered Toretsk, a city about 50 miles north of Volodar, and are advancing towards its center, according to battlefield maps compiled by independent groups analyzing combat footage. A Ukrainian army spokeswoman, Anastasia Nikova, if I'm saying that right, sorry guys, said late Monday that Russia had entered the city, noting that fighting is taking place literally at every entrance to it. Okay, so I'm not going to go over this whole article. I don't want to bore you guys with it, but I will cite it in the description down below if you want to read the full thing. But as we can see, according to this information, heavy fighting is still taking place here in Toretsk, and it says here they're advancing towards its center. Okay, the Russians are, that is. So that's very bad news for Ukraine. As Ukraine is continuing to fight in the Kursk region, at the same time, we are continuing to see Russia slowly advancing on many of these key cities in the Donetsk region that Ukraine has been desperately trying to hold on to. Just like Volodar, when we reported that, Volodar had heavy fighting there for the last 2 years since basically the beginning of the war. And Russia just recently took that city over, and Toretsk has had months and months of heavy fighting here. Looks like the Russians could be getting close to taking it. So we'll see if Ukraine is going to be able to push them out. But it's looking likely that the Russians are continuing to advance in this city. And now, according to this information, pushing to the center of it. So we've got this map as well to show you from Bliskovka. Heavy and dynamic combats continue in Toretsk as the occupants try to advance along Centralna Street. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, guys. This was reported by Anastasia Bobovnikova. That's a hard name to say. Spokesperson for the Luhansk military operation. In addition, Russians are trying to storm Ukrainian positions in the areas of Chasavia Yar, New York, and the Seversky sector using small group tactics. So here's a map kind of showing that the Russians have entered into Toretsk. Last we knew, literally just the other day, they were on the outskirts over here, okay? And then just about 24, 48 hours later, now we're hearing that the Russians are entering about halfway into the city. So definitely a tough situation for Ukraine over here on the Eastern Front. And the city of Toretsk, I've been talking about it for actually months now, as heavy fighting has been taking place here. So let's see if Ukraine can hold back the Russians in this area, but looks like so far they have broken through to the center. So now I've got this report of this fire in Noginsk in the Moscow region, excuse me. Mario Nafal reports massive fire engulfs Noginsk Central Market, 3,000 square meter blaze. A fire has erupted across the entire 3,000 square meter area of the Central Market in Noginsk, Moscow region, sending thick smoke across the district. Authorities expect containment efforts to continue until midnight as emergency crews work to control the flames. The source was RIA Novosti. So we've got some video footage here that shows a major fire that has broken out inside the city of Noginsk, excuse me, in the Moscow region of Russia. So take a look. Okay, so we don't know how this fire started out, but what I have been reporting to you guys for weeks and even months now is just massive amounts of fires all over the place in Russia. It's just Russia's just burning everywhere, but primarily something that we notice is inside the Moscow region of Russia is where we see a lot of these fires that are breaking out. So as you can see, a 3,000 square meter blaze on the central market in Noginsk in the Moscow region of Russia. So we'll move on now to a few other updates that I have for you from Max 24 in Russia. In Russia, production of the Sukhoi Su-57 stealth fighter has stalled. It's clear that Russia's military industry heavily depends on Western components, particularly in electronics, the Telegraph reported. Sanctions put into place by Western governments have throttled the supply of this critical hardware. As a result, production of the Su-57 is in jeopardy. So this is one of Russia's stealth fighter jets, okay, the Su-57. We've been talking about this actually on and off for the last few months. We've been hearing about this. I think even one of these might have been shot down at one point. I want to say maybe I reported on that a little while back, if I remember correctly. But apparently Russia only has somewhere around 20 of these. And I think in total somewhere around 25 or 27, but only actually 20 are in service as far as I know. And apparently they can't produce any more of these due to sanctions. So the reason why I wanted to show you this is how much of an effect sanctions are putting on Russia's ability to continue their war efforts. Now, is it completely stopping them from fighting the war? No, it's not. But in some areas, like producing these Su-57s, it's making it very difficult for them to maintain them and continue building them. And we just reported just recently as well that there was a Russian minesweeper warship up in the Kaliningrad region. Apparently, the Ukrainians had carried out some sort of sabotage attack on one of their ships over there and caused the engine to flood with water and damage the engine. And because of sanctions and issues with repairing their boats. Obviously, they cannot continue repairing them as well. So they're going to have a delay in just repairing some of their warships as well. So this is obviously a major issue for Russia as sanctions are putting a hefty toll on the ability to maintain their fleets. Okay, so interesting news coming out from there. Also from Liskovka, the situation on the battlefield creates an opportunity to end the war in 2025, said Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This was a huge report coming out today. In October, November, December, we have the chance to move the situation towards peace and lasting stability. The situation on the battlefield creates an opportunity to make this choice, a choice for decisive action to end the war no later than 2025, Ukrainian president said. So I thought that was pretty big. Okay, so he's saying that they might be able to end the war no later than 2025. So by next year, could we possibly see this war coming to an end? Could it possibly happen much sooner? I mean, obviously, we've heard if Donald Trump gets back into office, he's come out and said that he would have this war settled by the end of the year, technically, before he even becomes inaugurated into office. So some big news coming out today. Looks like Ukraine definitely is trying to push to end this war sometime soon. And it probably is a better idea to do it sooner than later, considering the way the Eastern Front looks right now. The Eastern Front is not looking good for Ukraine. They've definitely been losing some land over there, and it looks like it's continuing the further that this war drags out. So I thought I'd share that with you guys there. Now, also, one last update on this Russian oil depot down in Crimea. This was the Feodosia oil terminal that was hit just a few days ago that I reported on to you guys in Crimea on the eastern side of the peninsula. This is from Tendar. Even on the third day, the oil depot in Russian-occupied Feodosia hasn't stopped burning. We got some pictures here that shows this thing still on fire 3 days later. And I heard from the authorities over there in Feodosia, they were coming out and stating that apparently they weren't going to be able to put the flames out and they were going to have to let this thing continue burning until all of the fuel had been disposed of due to this fire. Okay, so it looks like this thing is not going to stop burning anytime soon. And this is also the result of many other tanks that started to catch on fire, because originally when this thing was struck, I think we had somewhere between 3 to 4 maybe tanks that were on fire. Eventually I heard that it spreaded to 10 or more tanks, oil tanks, that eventually exploded, and that's why we had this thing burning 2, 3, almost 4 days later. Okay, so thought I'd give you an update on the Feodosia oil terminal down in the Crimean Peninsula, still burning today. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate your patience with me as I'm not feeling too good today, but I still want to try my best to get the news out for you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a great day. And if you enjoyed this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you with that. Hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.